Hey folks, I'm RJ Beam. This is Premeditated Fiction, and today I will be reviewing Nobody Rides for Free by Neil Plakcy. Alright, so Nobody Rides for Free is the second book in the Angus Green series of FBI procedural mysteries. And in this book, it picks up right about 6 months or so after the first book in the series, The Next One Will Kill You. And in this particular story, Angus, it's about 6 months or so after Angus has been shot in the events of the first book. His injuries are pretty limited because he was wearing his bulletproof vest, but he still is on light or restricted duty. And so he's doing, mostly some paperwork stuff, some college outreach, recruiting type things. And a case kind of, comes into his preview or into his realm, and so he ends up, kind of jumping back into full duty. And the story starts off with a gentleman having an overdose, a reaction to a drug, and kind of bath salts is the drug. And as we saw in the news, a couple of years ago, folks ODing on bath salts go crazy and attack people and literally start like gnawing on them like zombies or something. So the story kicks off with that event, and so Angus goes to this person's office. They have their overdose at work, and while he's at the office, he encounters some information about some emails about where this person likely got their bath salts from. And it turns out that they likely got their bath salts from a person who is involved in the pornography industry, a webcam actor. And Angus realizes that the actor is potentially an underage juvenile, and so now the investigation is kind of going off, and it goes in a couple different directions because he's investigating both the drug issue and drug production, but then he's also looking at the production of some underage pornography, and this young man is missing. As they begin going into the case, it turns out this young man had been at a local homeless shelter, and he's a runaway, and he's been missing. So the case just kind of has a couple interesting ways that it goes, and how Angus goes about eventually tracking down through the case and the steps he takes with a couple of different events going on throughout the book. Don't want to give out any spoilers. As with Neil Plakcy's previous mystery book, this one is well done. Some really good dialogue. Definitely you can tell that Mr. Plakcy has taken some time and sat down and talked with folks in law enforcement. He uses some proper terminology that oftentimes I see done wrong in books. He's got some good dialogue where he's talking about how they're going about their process, even the dialogue between the officers, the fact that some of these officers and agents have never met before, and there's kind of the whole brotherhood thing that the first time you meet somebody, you can speak to them for 2 minutes and bang, it's kind of like you've had some shared experiences, you've had some shared things that you've encountered on the job, even though you weren't on the same calls. You've been on similar calls as one another, and so very quickly you can kind of jump right in and become kind of friendly. So Angus encounters a couple of different agencies, a couple of different people throughout the story, and he's able to work right through those situations quite believably. Even the idea of him being involved in some things where they weren't directly tied to his investigation, but they are kind of on the ancillary parts of his investigation, dealing with some other officers. There's a piece where he's not undercover, but he's working with an undercover agent, and so he has to kind of go and be at a location where she's undercover, not really being undercover with her, but just kind of being backup for her. And just some interesting things that happen there with him being a gay man, and he's hanging out with all these straight people, and he starts getting hit on by a lady and whatnot, and it just kind of made for a fun read and part of the investigation that it helps to move forward. So overall, really good story, pretty tight, good pace to it. There's a couple of spots where you get some look at Angus's personal life, as with the previous book. So a little bit of an A plot and B plot, where we've got the case and the way the case evolves as it goes, but also some situations there where Angus is trying to deal with his roommate, trying to deal with a love life that is pretty lackluster, and trying to just kind of move forward after having been involved in a shooting and having a little bit of PTSD. So it definitely moves forward, and by the end of the book, everything seems to be pretty well explained. Definitely leaves some spots open for a third book as it relates to where his personal life is going to go. But as it relates to the case he's investigating in this particular story, he's able to wrap it up, and it's no cliffhangers or anything like that. So hopefully there will be a third book in this series, and we can see a new investigation from Angus Green and see where his personal life is going to end up going. All right, so if you're definitely looking for kind of an interesting read where something, kind of the procedural, but kind of more of the federal agency side versus your local cops or your cozy mystery, definitely check out Nobody Rides for Free by Neil Plakcy. It's available out now. And do keep in mind, I did receive an advance reader copy for this unbiased review. Otherwise, I will talk to you again later, and enjoy.